Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I'm continuing this series on relationship OCD, and I wanted to go over the obsessions and compulsions that have to do with relationship OCD. I find that the reason why it's important to recognize that is because when somebody, say, washes their hands too many times or thinks that they've hit somebody, so they go back to what seems to them like the scene of the crime, right, to make sure that there's no one there. Um, that's clearly a compulsion. But when a person worries about relationship related things, the line gets blurred because technically everybody at some point gets concerned about their relationship in one way or another, right? So the line gets blurred and you have to see things as they are and see where the compulsions are. So the common compulsions for relationship OCD are how do I feel, right? That kind of a thought pattern of, do I love the person, does the person love me, right? And the person can analyze a lot, like, how do they feel, how do I feel, well, what about this, well, what about that? And the compulsion would be would to either like, if it's about the other person, they will ask, or they will maybe look up stuff online, or just try to analyze. Really, I would say relationship OCD, physical compulsion, well, mental compulsions, really come down to analyzing. That is probably the most prominent one, but there is also asking, confessing, all of that is there. Another one, it can connect to a cheating OCD, right? Is the person cheating on me, or would I cheat on them? And that, or like a false memory of what if I already cheated, or what if they already cheated? That's also a very, very common type of relationship OCD variation. Another type of a relationship OCD would be fear of not being in a relationship. What if I will never find anybody? What if I will be alone forever? That's also very common. So if you're experiencing this type of OCD and it's with you all the time, these thoughts are with you all the time, that thought is OCD. You can't allow yourself to react to it. This is not real. It doesn't mean anything. Again, remember that the part of the brain that's sending you these thoughts doesn't actually understand what thoughts it's sending you. It doesn't get it on a cognitive understanding level. It only understands it as a signal, like, oh, you're scared of this? Okay, I'll send you more of this. It doesn't know what this is. It's just sending it to you. So you having these, getting these thoughts, getting these fears, it doesn't mean anything. It's not a sign. It's not uh, mm, it's not a valid fear. It's just literally your brain is pressing the button on the same thought over and over again. Sometimes relationship OCD can go into an area of health. I don't see this one as often, but it is present, of, worrying about something happening to the partner. That's also very common. So analyzing that. And when I say relationship OCD, I don't necessarily mean just romantic, husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend type of relationships. This can affect, family members as well. It's whoever you're closest to, or kids, right? That if the person feels, well, like, just to give you kind of some examples, well, do my kids really love me? What if something bad happens to my kids? Like all kinds of thoughts like that still would fall under relationship OCD, even though it's slightly different. And again, it's whenever you're having these thoughts, right? I think to an extent, any person in the world, like people without OCD, would also have these thoughts. But when they have it, it's like 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10, but that's about it, you know? But when a person with OCD gets this thought, they start to, or right before they get OCD rather, they start to analyze, and they create an OCD situation out of it by just going over it and over it and over it, while the person without OCD would just get this thought and say, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna think about this anymore, I'm moving on. So just looking at it like this, that this is OCD. It's not different than hand washing. It's not different than some more kind of outrageous, kind of clear-cut type of thoughts. This is also not how a person without OCD would think about relationships, even though technically everybody gets concerned to some extent about relationships at some point. They would not get to this level. So you have to look at it like, yes, this is OCD. No, I don't need to analyze. I am going to choose to move on now. So anything to do with relationships, a lot of the times clients ask me, well, how do I know if this is relationship OCD thought? Well, if it's anything to do with the relationship, and if your anxiety is through the roof, like 10 out of 10 anxiety, 9 out of 10 anxiety, like really, really high, or it was really high, but you brought it down, right? But it's still pretty high. If it's not 1 out of 10, that's relationship OCD, and you can't allow yourself to analyze. You can't allow yourself to solve the thoughts, or to confess, or to ask, or to check, or to whatever it is that you do, right? You can't allow yourself to do those compulsions anymore, whether they're mental compulsions or physical. It really doesn't matter. Personally, I find mental compulsions to be worse, just because with physical compulsion, because it's something like physically done, you can only do it so many times. But with mental compulsion, you can go all day. You know what I mean? Like, you can analyze this all day, and that's the major thing that you have to stop in order to recover from OCD. You have to really understand this, that unless you stop mental analyzing on these topics, you will not recover. You can't have it both ways. You can't kind of say, okay, I'm just going to analyze this one last time and then I won't next time. It's not going to work, because the next time is going to hit you just as hard as this one, and it's never really going to stop. So you have to say, no, I'm not analyzing. Now, when you refuse to analyze, you will get about 1 million new thoughts, or variations of this thought. It's just going to pummel you, and that's okay. That's how recovery goes. You have to kind of wait through it. You know what I mean? Just don't do anything. Watch the thoughts switch. The reason why they're switching is because nothing is sticking. So your brain is bringing up a thought, it's like, it's not sticking to you, so it's like, okay, I'll bring up another one. 2 minutes later, oh, what about this? Nope, still not sticking. Okay, what about this? And it will keep going. Eventually it'll tire itself out and stop. At this time as well, like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch my videos on the stages of recovery, because it gives a lot more information there about the stages of OCD recovery generally. But when you are in this stage of pummeling, you might feel really tired, you might feel overwhelmed, feelings of anger might come up again. I have the videos about symptoms of OCD as well. You have to look at it as, this is all normal, this is all part of OCD, and you are overwhelming your brain by making it change how it's viewing these thoughts. It's hard enough to process OCD, but now on top of processing OCD, it's also reprogramming itself not to process OCD in the future. So all of this is stressing it further, and that's why you might feel a little more tired, a little like you can't compute as well, you can't talk as well, you're less focused, things are falling out of your hands, all those things. That's normal, but you have to stay the course. Anything to do with a relationship that's giving you a lot of anxiety is a compulsion. You have to view it as a compulsion, and you have to push through that way. I'm not doing it. If you're getting stuck on the thought, no, this is OCD, I'm stuck, right? It's not going anywhere. It feels like it's attacking. There's a feeling of urgency, right? All those, the reason why I did the series videos is so you can see, and not like to get reassurance, but to see the patterns. When you see the patterns of how OCD works, and it always works on the pattern, it gives you power. So you can say, you know what, when doctors say, well, you have to live with uncertainty. Well, that's easy to say, hard to do, right? As we all know. But if you say, I can live with uncertainty based on the fact that it looks like OCD, it smells like OCD, it feels like OCD, all the symptoms are like OCD, I've had this thought before, You know what I mean? And then it's easier to live with uncertainty because you have something to hold on to, and you might call it a little bit of reassurance, but I feel like, to make progress, especially in the beginning when it's the hardest, you kind of need something to hold on to. And then as you're seeing that the thoughts are starting to go down, the anxiety is not as high, then you don't actually have to like have this kind of thought process. You can just like be like, oh, it's OCD, whatever, I don't care, But in the beginning, I find that it kind of helps to know that, okay, these are the patterns, it's following the pattern, therefore it's OCD. Goodbye, I'm not doing this anymore. And you see how I'm talking right now, like really taking that attitude from a position of power. It's a very this is the position that you need to have in order to recover. I hope you find these videos helpful. If you would like to do the recovery program, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. You can sign up from there. Please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next video.